Hello everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Microeconomics at Ozarka College. Today what I'd like to do is give you just a little bit of feedback on the chapters 7 and 8 activities that I finished grading yesterday. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about our chapter 9 activities that we have coming up due later this week. Alright, so first thing is, like I said, I did finish grading the chapter 7 and 8 activities yesterday. If you haven't already gone in and looked at your grades for those activities and read the grading comments, go ahead and do that as soon as you can and let me know if you have any questions. Overall, most of you did well on the assignment, but there were a few things that I noticed that you probably needed a review on. And so what I've done is on the activities page, I have included a couple of review videos at the very top of week 7 on the activities page. So you'll notice there's a chapter 7 and 8 assignment review for utility analysis, because that was one of the problems on the assignment. And then also I've got a chapter 7 and 8 review where I review production and cost, which were some of the other questions on the assignment that some of you had some issues with, some struggles with. So, like I said, most of you did well on the assignment, but there were a few things that I did notice, like some of you forgot to include the table for the utility analysis question. Some of you forgot to show your calculations. I think there were a few of you that just kind of ran out of time and you just didn't have time to complete all the questions. And so that was an issue too with one or two of you. Like I said, overall, most of you did well, but I would like you to watch those review videos. Even those of you that did well on the assignment, it would be beneficial to watch those review videos, because I take you step by step through the process of completing those questions on the assignment that some of you had some problems with. All right, and after watching the review videos, if you have questions, just let me know and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. Most of you did well on the discussion. If you remember, the discussion that we had dealt with achieving economies of scale for McDonald's. As McDonald's expands into other countries and so forth, they have to deal with a lot of factors in the market that influence their decisions, like resource availability, taste and preferences in each country, different cultures, different languages, and like I said, I really enjoyed that discussion. Hopefully you enjoyed it as well. It's kind of a good way for us to take the concepts that we're learning about in the chapters and actually apply it to a real world scenario or a real company in this case. And so, like I said, I really appreciate everyone's participation on the discussion. So keep up the good work on that. The chapter 7 and 8 tests, most of you did well on that. But just as a reminder, you can take those tests as many times as you want to up until the due date, and your highest grade is automatically recorded. All right, so that brings us to what we've got coming up due for our next set of activities. So if you'll notice, right now we're on week 7 of the semester, and of course I've got those review videos at the very top there under week 7, and then our next set of activities is for Chapter 9. So you've got the Chapter 9 assignment, test, and discussion all due by Saturday, February 28th, which is this coming Saturday. All right, Saturday of this week. So you've got a little under a week to be working on those activities. Hopefully you've already kind of gotten started. If you haven't, go ahead and get started as soon as possible. And let me know if you have any questions. Chapter 9, by the way, is the first chapter where we're going to take one of the market structures, in this case perfect competition, and discuss that particular market structure. If you remember from chapter 8 that we just looked at, it kind of introduced you to the concept of market structures, and we learned about the characteristics that help define the different market structures. Well, starting with chapter 9, we're going to look at one extreme case of market structure on one end of the spectrum, which is perfect competition. All right. And then the next chapter, chapter 10, we'll look at the other extreme case of market structure on the other end of the spectrum, which is monopoly. And then in chapter 11, we will look at the two market structures that fall in between those two extreme cases. And those are oligopoly and monopolistic competition, which kind of share characteristics of both perfect competition and monopoly. All right. And the reason that we study these different market structures is because the type of market structure that a company is faced with, that they're operating in, is going to highly impact and determine what types of decisions they have to make and what control they have over those decisions. There are certain things, for example, that perfect competition doesn't have any control over, like the price. They have to take whatever the market price is. But with monopoly market structure, they have some control over the price that they charge. So depending on what the characteristics are of the market that you're operating in, it's going to determine how you make decisions to maximize profit and minimize losses for your particular type of market that you face. All right. So it's very important. So far this semester, we've looked at just general markets. We've kind of assumed that every business faces the same market structures. But in reality, that's not the case. And so that's why we're going to have chapters 9 through 11 here. We're going to go in and discuss the different market structures and how the characteristics of those different market structures affect the decision making by companies in those particular structures. All right. So just be working on chapter 9 and let me know if you have any questions at all. And other than that, I'm going to let you go. So enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend, and I will talk to you again sometime early next week. Thank you.